You're listening to the Wayward Atheist Podcast. Hello, everyone. If this is your first time listening, thank you for joining us. This is a podcast where borders collide, where the gloves are off, where filters are removed, where we tell you exactly what we think about the news, politics, and religion. The Wayward Atheist Podcast is dedicated to free thought, reason, and the pursuit of truth. You can follow us on Twitter at Wayward Atheist, on Spreaker, Stitcher, and iTunes. You can email us at waywardatheistpodcast@gmail.com or leave us a comment on our Facebook page. So without further ado, let's get on with the show.
This week's episode of The Wayward Atheist has been brought to you by the crafty freethinker, atheist, humanist, and secular jewelry for those who don't like the idea of wearing a torture device around their neck. Find the crafty freethinker on Etsy and Amazon. Links are in the show notes, or simply Google the crafty freethinker as one word. Hello and welcome to the Wayward Atheist Podcast. I'm Dave, a.k.a. The Great White North.
I'm Corinne, or Corey, a.k.a. The Yank.
I'm Big Black Gay Dave.
And I'm Ed, the Everyday Atheist.
And tonight we are joined by
Professor Stephen of Atheists on Air.
Woohoo!
Yay. From the South.
We can tell from the South.
From the South. Yep.
Well, I'm American.
We add extra syllables down here. We like it. No word can be too long.
It's freaky to get used to because I've only been down south since January, and it's just weird.
Yeah, well, you can tell what county someone's from around here by the way they talk. So everyone speaks differently.
He does the what thing, too.
Yeah.
Who was I having a fucking discussion with about this? Dave Foda does the what.
What? Yep. Instead of what?
Yeah, does that too. Is that North Carolina? Is that a North Carolinian accent? Yeah.
Okay, I've been noticing it's a lot of people from the Carolinas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Emphasis on the H.
I don't know what's going on.
Talking about accents.
Talking about what as opposed to what?
So I don't know if Ed was on the show when we used to be the Atheist, but Ed's an ex-Mormon.
Okay.
And so if you mention anything sexual, he'll blush.
Oh, yeah. Ex-Mos.
So I actually found Ed through Cash.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on, I can't remember what he was on. It might have been Dogma Debate or one of those shows. This was after you guys had already stopped doing your show. And he read Edward's email. And
right.
Then I found Edward and brought him on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think a lot of us found each other through Cash.
Well,
yes.
You and I certainly did.
Mm-hmm.
I was introduced to this entire community by being on that show.
It was a very influential show for me too. My entire introduction to the online atheist community came through that show. So
yeah, me too. Like I literally opened up a Facebook account because of that show.
Yeah,
right.
And I finally got to the point where I actually sat and had a conversation with Professor Stephen without just like fangirling and standing around him and like staring off into the distance. Like, oh, I hope he doesn't look at me.
You know,
but actually, it was so long since I've actually had an intellectual conversation with somebody. It was just awesome, seeing you out there, even though, it wasn't for that long, but it was fucking awesome. So
yeah, I wish it could have been longer, but I had another commitment.
I'll be up there again because I'm up in North Carolina a lot because I have so much friends and family there.
And I'll be here. The show, it's been on hiatus now for almost a year, and there's various reasons for that, some of which are personal, but I still intend on bringing it back. I'm still working on trying to start it up again. So,
I'd guess on that for sure.
Yeah.
I'll sub it every time. I can't wait till it starts again.
Oh, that would just be amazing. Because there's not a lot of shows I listen to anymore. I listen to like Cog Dis and stuff because the comedy, because sometimes it's just really, good to laugh when you're on long drives and stuff, but there's not a lot of shows I listen to. That was always my favorite. And, when it went away, it sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I lost my job and I had to move out of my house and I got a new job and, I can give you my whole sob story, but there's been a lot of reasons personally that I've had a couple false starts on the show. I've even announced it was coming back and then wasn't able to do it. But I still intend to. I've been keeping up payments on the hosting and the domain and all that. so that, all the machinery's still there.
Well, I think it's important for the people to be able to see those episodes. So I would hope that you would keep them up and running,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's the main thing, is just the back catalog is still there and it's still available. But yeah, I'm hoping soon to find the gumption and the time and put out another episode. This time though, the next episode that will be put out, and God knows when. He doesn't know anything doesn't exist. But if he did exist, he would know when. It's probably going to be pre-recorded, because doing it live is a little bit harder.
Right.
Especially live call-in, which was the original format, which after Cash left and I tried to do the same thing, I found that it was quite a struggle. Cash has podcasting talents, and he knew how to actually do a live call-in show, which is got to be the hardest type of podcast to do.
Well, that was the first kind of show that I did. I did the Forbidden Fruit, and I became a co-host not by any of asking. It's just one of those things that happens. And the live call-in show format is a difficult format, because there's always got to be somebody screening calls, and, I would screen calls, but I would also, engage with callers. So it's a difficult format, but if you can master it, it's a really fun show to do when you have
Oh yeah. We have just recently on the Facebook page had a man challenge us to a debate. I'm like, the show hasn't been...
was it that priest guy?
He's out of Texas. He's a black guy.
No, I think the one I'm thinking of is a white dude.
Okay, this guy, I went to his Facebook page, and it's all stuff about how Jesus was black and how all black Americans are actually not from Africa, but are actually Hebrew.
Oh, that crazy fuck.
Oh,
yeah, okay.
No, not him, but yeah, he's a fucking nut job.
Yeah, I kind of figured it was. But the funny thing is, though, politically, we probably would agree on a lot of things,
It's possible, but I mean, the whole white Jesus debate is just when you think about it, how much evidence really is there that Jesus existed? I mean, obviously he wasn't white. We know that.
No, he was not. He was a Mediterranean Jew, which means he was very dark.
He didn't exist.
If he existed.
He didn't exist.
Well, there's not much evidence that he existed.
No, the current academic climate, academic consensus is that there was a dude named Yeshua who was crucified for saying some stuff in Palestine during the Roman occupation. That's it. That's
right.
That may be true, and it may not be true. I don't see as it really matters, because the character in the Bible that it is nothing to do with that person if he did exist anyway.
Yeah, and the person in the Bible was kind of a dick. They make Jesus out to be like some loving hippie, but he really wasn't.
No.
There was that one story, and I can't even remember which book it's from, but when he was talking, this woman wanted him to heal her child, and he's grudgingly, all right, fine, I'll fucking heal him.
Well, Judaism was a Hebrew, what's the right word? Hebrew power doctrine, supremacy, Hebrew supremacy. Basically, the Jews were God's chosen people, and they're better than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that all over the Gospels too. Jesus is like, these Gentile dogs, but they can eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table at least. So that sort of ethos of Judaism doesn't go away in the New Testament. It's still like the Jews are better than everybody else. But then that's only in one of the Gospels. Some of the other ones are written by anti-Semitic people.
Right.
So you get this book that is schizophrenic. Half of it's like the Jews are the best people ever, and half of it's like the Jews are the devil.
Yeah, it's a crazy book.
Yep.
So 1 second, before we get into the show proper, I'm going to give a few shout outs.
Okay.
I'll give a shout out to Bone Puppy, who gave us a nice review on YouTube. Randy, who sent in our second topic of the evening. Cindy, you gave me a shitty review, but oh well. I'll give you a shout out anyways. Okay, she thought that Thomas kicked my ass when he was on.
No, I thought you guys had a good discussion.
Yeah. Anyways, doesn't matter. Anyways, thanks for the interaction, Cindy. And then Yorkshire Atheist, who gave us a really good fucking review, said that the first 5 minutes of the Daryl Ray podcast was the funniest thing ever recorded. So
awesome.
That's awesome.
That's quite a compliment.
He's an amazing guest. I love that dude.
Yeah. So we'll get into the show. Okay, we're back from the break. Our next segment is going to be about supplements and cupping. we're going to do cupping because it's been in the news a lot because of the not that type of cupping, Corinne. I know we're thinking about cupping the fucking balls.
Yeah, I was doing the cup and the ball thing. I was like, oh, not that cupping. All right.
Well, we don't want to do that kind of cupping on the balls. That would really hurt.
Yeah, no shit, eh? So no, was all the craze during the Olympics, and now people are doing it to their dogs and babies and all kinds of crazy.
Doing it to dogs and babies. Well, doing it to babies is child abuse. Yes. Doing it to dogs is animal cruelty.
Yes.
That's just a fact. Just like acupuncture. In fact, there's a version of cupping which is acupuncture and cupping, where you poke a hole in a person and then you use suction to suck out blood, I guess. I mean, there's a chance of infection with that. But anyway, I guess I'm getting into the segment now. Am I not?
Go ahead.
All right. So I'll talk a little bit about supplements and I'll talk a little bit about cupping. I don't have a lot to say about cupping because it's just sort of obvious bullshit. Right, if you just think about it. But we'll get back to that in a minute. As when it comes to supplements, my friend researcher Dave, he actually did some research for me and found out, a few things about the regulations of supplements. So to be more technical, they're dietary supplements is what we call them in the category in the United States and a lot of other countries. And they're not regulated like drugs, which they should be. They're regulated like food. So they're considered food. Now, these are small tablets full of sometimes purified substances that are either found in nature or synthesized that you take in order to change the chemistry of your body. That's a drug. The difference between a dietary supplement and a drug is that usually a dietary supplement has not been tested or hasn't been shown, or is considered safe enough by some people not to be a concern, which means most dietary supplements do nothing. There are a few that are actually helpful. I'll be honest with that. Some dietary supplements have been tested. A few examples of those would be vitamin D supplements. A lot of people who work second shift, third shift, stuff like that, they don't get enough sunlight, and we don't get a lot of vitamin D in our food. And so mainly the vitamin D is oily fish and fortified dairy products. So even in the dairy products, it's fortified. So it's basically like having a supplement mixed in with your dairy. A lot of people in America don't eat oily fish. It's not part of our culinary tradition. I love them, but most people don't. And so some of us are vitamin D deficient, and taking a vitamin D supplement is fine for you. Some people need calcium supplements, for instance. If you need them, take them. If you don't need them, you could give yourself, kidney stones.
What about iron? I take iron supplements because my iron is low sometimes, and I'm a platelet donor.
That's fine. Yeah, hematonics are fine, especially if you're a blood donor and you feel like your iron's low. That's a perfectly valid supplement to take if you're especially if you have a condition. A lot of these supplements, though, should only be taken if you have a deficiency or a condition. If you take them whenever you're perfectly healthy and you're getting enough of them in your food, you can have too much, and then too much can cause health condition. So, for instance, one really good supplement is niacin, which you can take. I believe it's niacin that you can take during pregnancy. Prenatal vitamins.
Okay.
Yeah, not niacin, folic acid.
But you can get that from strawberries.
Correct. And in fact, we have fortified foods in this country now. And so most people have enough folate in their diet that they don't need to ever take folic acid pills. But some women, when they're pregnant, are advised with their doctor to still take folic acid supplements on top. It's probably a bit of overkill. It does prevent birth defects, though. So that's a good thing, right? It helps with the formation of the child in the womb, of the fetus. But the problem is that if you take folic acid supplements on top of eating enough folic acid in your diet, which you probably are, you're going to be overdoing it, right? But if you're just overdoing it for the duration of your pregnancy, you're probably going to be okay. But if you take folic acid along with the eating foods that are full of folic acid, you're going to get too much.
And what could be the effects of having too much?
It can actually, it's been tested. High amounts may actually fuel the growth of tumors.
That's not good.
Yeah, it's not good. So it's all a matter of dose with these things. Like, especially men who have too much folic acid in their diet can get colon and prostate cancer. It also has been linked to breast cancer. This is with, some studies of people with their diets and who's more likely to get cancer. And there are, these are suggesting this may be a side effect. I'm not saying this is absolutely set in stone, but it appears possible. It appears like there's some data there that pretty good possibility that tumor formation can be accelerated by too much folic acid in your diet. But just the right amount is great, and too little can cause birth defects.
Okay, I have a question about that. What would be the right amount? Because could you eat too much foods with folic acid in it? Would that cause something, or would it just have to be from a supplement that has high amounts of it.
I'm pretty sure that the supplement is really the problem. Like the fortified foods and those those foods that are natural in folic acid, just eat the hell out of those. Those are all good for you. They're great. But you do that, you have a good diet, and you add supplements on top, you're going to have a little extra. Having a little extra doesn't hurt you in the short term. Like I said, it's the long term.
Right.
Do you think a big problem, like my assessment of the whole thing is like, do people really know how much they're actually intaking?
No.
Like, how do they even keep track of if they're getting too much or too little, or how much they are intaking?
There's no way of really knowing. I mean, you can be diagnosed with a deficiency, but in general, you have no idea if the kale you ate gave you enough X that you don't need to take a supplement. When it comes to folic acid in pregnancy, for the duration of the pregnancy, it's the risks are minimal for having too much. So can
I just jump in? I just want to let all the GMO people that are scared of GMOs know that kale is just genetically modified mustard. So go fuck yourself.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But it tastes really good when it's mixed with collard greens.
Tastes good in salad too.
We should mix them with mustard greens just to get that weird, contrast.
I like mixing all different kinds of greens together. Yeah. You get different flavors. For example, with the fact that I donate platelets and it's usually every other week or upon, emergency. Like there are certain times when I am more iron deficient than others, but I don't think I have a natural iron deficiency. Right. Is there any danger to taking too much iron, or will your body just get rid of it? Yeah,
you could take too much iron. Now, I don't off the top of my head remember what the side effects are, but you can definitely have too much iron.
Yeah, because I mean, sometimes, and I'm not a big meat eater, but like before I donate, I'll eat a steak and some spinach, and usually it's good.
Okay, sorry. Researcher Dave just told me that vitamin C actually can increase your uptake of iron. And if you're taking vitamin C supplements along with iron supplements, you can actually have so much iron in your blood that it can affect an MRI.
Really? Because I was definitely told to drink orange juice when I'm eating my steak and spinach to increase my iron.
Yep.
But I didn't know it could have enough to affect an MRI. That's crazy.
But these are people that are probably taking like mega doses. Like mega doses of anything are bad for you, right? Okay. Including this bullshit that mega doses of vitamin C can cure a cold or all this nonsense. You see, the problem with the supplements industry is that it's an industry that tries to make money.
But Big Pharma's trying to take our money.
Well, all right, exactly. But Big Pharma's regulated.
Exactly.
Now, not nearly as well as they should be. I'll admit that because they've got their claws into the FDA.
And Big Pharma saved millions of lives.
Millions.
And
the FDA has as well. I don't know of any supplement. Iron poisoning. Iron poisoning is a leading cause of poisoning death in children. Causes liver failure. Yeah.
Children?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Can I ask you a question? About nootropic?
All right.
Do you know
nootropics? Oh God, I don't know what that is.
Supplements for the brain, man.
Oh, okay.
So those like focus factor shit?
Yeah, or like Alpha Brain.
Well, my guess is that none of that's ever been tested, and so it's probably just.
So Alpha Brain's saying that it's been peer reviewed and double blinded.
Okay. Do you know what kind of a journal it's in?
I think it was done at the Boston Mind or Massachusetts or Boston Mind Institute or Brain Institute. They did it themselves. So the company did it themselves. So
that's a red
I don't
flag.
know if you can. Yeah, of course it's a red flag, but they like paid for it to be done. And they said that obviously I haven't read the data on it. It's just a podcast that I listen to. The host, he's pitching it. He says that, it had enough of an effect on the people that they're putting it out there.
What effect do they claim that it has?
Memory retention.
Memory retention. That's got to be a hard effect to actually quantify, though. Yeah. What kind of placebo did they use or whatever? I'd like to look at the study. Before I would comment.
So look up on it. They put all the ingredients out there.
Okay, sounds good.
Like I don't take it myself, but I'm just
all right. Yep. Because as far as I can tell, the whole idea of boosting something natural is kind of dumb. Like what you have is like you have optimal, which is sort of whenever you're getting all the nutrition you need, things will work optimally. Boosting these things like your immune system would actually be a bad thing. If you've got a perfectly normal immune system and you boosted it, well, you might have allergies now, or you might have lupus, or you might have some sort of autoimmune disease where your joints are being attacked by your own white blood cells. Things in the body like an equilibrium. Boosting your brain power, it seems to me your brain is going to work optimally. So if it's not working optimally, you've got a deficiency. It's not that you need some special thing more. It's that you need to be taking in the things you need to be taking in. That's just a thought. Maybe there is some sort of oil for the brain that oils the gears and makes the electrical connections work better and make you smarter. I don't know.
Well, I thought that was just oily fish that did that.
Yeah, it's oily fish. Yeah, it's actually these aliens in Doctor Who that look like bats. But anyway, I won't go into that.
Or lizard people. I think Edward has a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things I've always seen on in the vitamin section in any department store is like things like St. John's wort or ginkgo biloba. Those
Right.
things that are supposed to be natural things to enhance brain memory and things like that.
Mhm.
Those things are usually hogwash. Those are
Right.
just to sell.
Right.
Do we have any understanding of the dangers? And I don't know, I mean specifics, but are they dangerous to take? I don't take them personally, but I mean, I've seen them. St. John's wort is probably the easiest one that I see clear out of a shelf really quickly.
Right. Yes, there are
Isn't
some
that
dangers.
the one that affects birth control pills? Yeah.
Yeah, if anything, these herbs are drugs. To put a fine, but they are drugs. Just because they're herbs doesn't make them not drugs. And anything that can affect your body, especially if these things actually worked, which most of them don't, but if they actually worked, then they would be very dangerous, because things that affect one part of the body will also affect another part of the body. And while it might have one benefit, it'll have side effects. As you well know, from any kind of drug, you always have side effects. And so if it's actually an effective treatment, it's going to have side effects and it's going to be dangerous. I don't know any of these herbs in specific, what dangers they are. I think most of them probably just upset your stomach. But I have heard about some herbal beverages. You know how you can go in to stores now and go near the soft drinks, and they have like the drinks that have herbs in them that are supposed to help you with this and help you with that and help you with the other thing. And most of these things don't contain enough of the active herb to do anything. I worked in an industry that did something like this. They had this concept they called foo-foo dust, which would just be this light, just the least amount they could sprinkle on top of their product in order to be able to claim that it's in there, because it's cheaper that way. That's what they usually do in industry. But there was a brand of herbal drink that I forget the name brand, but it was in a plastic container, looked like a old school like milk container. And you could look inside and you could see that there was herb floating in there. And there was enough herb in these drinks that it was actually effective. And what was happening though is that people were giving them to their kids. And it was, these kids were getting sick because it was enough of the herb to actually give the kids an overdose. Now, most of these kids didn't get to the point of death, but they got sick.
Yeah.
You know, diarrhea, vomiting, et cetera, passing out, that kind of thing, because herbs are, they are drugs. And so, you know, I was going through these supplements that were useful. You'll notice most of them were actually purified vitamins. Not all vitamins are good, by the way. In fact, I wouldn't really recommend, unless you need them, taking vitamins, because too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And some vitamins, if you take too much of them, can have very bad effects on you. I think one of the most common was vitamin A. Vitamin A is it helps with helps with inflammation. It helps with your skin. But if you have too much vitamin A, for instance, I believe it's polar bear liver contains bukus of vitamin A because they store it up for their hibernation. I've heard stories about people in the Arctic. The polar bears, they kill a polar bear for food, and they decide to fry up its liver and eat it, and then they die. Their skin actually falls off.
Oh, that's a nice way to die.
Yeah. So there's a vitamin that's really beneficial in a small amount, but really bad for you in a large amount. So it's all in the dose. But we're getting on to the herbal stuff
Right.
now.
Can I ask you a quick question before you move?
Yeah, sure.
The B vitamins, do they really help with your energy levels?
That's a good question.
Because I was told by my doctor to increase my vitamin B intake because I stopped eating meat mostly. I mean, not for any ethical reason. It's just that I don't like it.
Yeah. Whenever you go on a strict vegetarian diet, you actually end up with a deficiency in vitamin B12. And so if you're a vegan, especially, it is advisable to take some, because that's not, as far as I know, that's not a vitamin we can make ourselves. Like other animals can make it themselves. We can't. So we have to eat animal products to get it.
I eat meat too, like 2-3 times a week.
Well, you're probably okay. Although there are some people who have problem actually absorbing it through their stomach, actually digesting it. And those people definitely need to be taking a supplement because they're not getting enough of it out of their food. And, there's fish oil. You know what? Eat some fish. Don't eat tilapia. Don't eat tilapia. Yeah.
That's the only one I like.
Why? What's wrong with tilapia?
It doesn't.
It's not, or it's omega-6s, right?
Yes, right, exactly. It doesn't have the omega-3 fatty acids. It has omega-6s. You might as well be eating a pork chop.
Tastes good though.
Yeah, it does. Well, I'm not a fan, but I like more flavorful fish myself. I like the healthy, oily ones. But eat a tin of bristling sardines once in a blue moon, and that'll be good for you. The problem with fish oil, it does appear to help with heart problems a bit.
Does it help with the joints like it proclaims?
That's not been validated. No, there's no, it might, but we've not been able to prove it. Okay. But the problem with it is that fish oil, there was a famous test. This was in Australia, so I don't know how much it applies to America, but there were some college students who decided to do, some tests. I believe they used something called high performance liquid chromatography or high pressure liquid chromatography, I believe is what they used to separate out the oils, the various lipids in commercial grade fish oils, and tested to see how many of them were rancid, and found that a lot of the fish oils that were on the market didn't contain the omega-3s they were supposed to, and a lot of them were rancid, went off. Shit. And rancid oil is terrible for you. Remember that brain oil I was talking about? It's anti-brain oil. It actually will hurt your brain. So yeah, if you want some brain oil, by the way, I recommend krillitane oil, which really does increase your IQ.
So that's just krill oil.
Yeah, krillitane. But you got to go to the planet of the krillitanes. I'm making a bad
just
joke.
Say krill.
No, the krillitanes. That's a Doctor Who creature.
Oh, okay.
There's a joke for the nerds in the audience.
I don't watch it. So
oh yeah,
it went over my head.
It's a bad joke. Okay, so but anyway, we were talking about herbal supplements. A lot of herbal supplements have either been proven not to do anything or haven't been tested. So you're either taking something that doesn't work or you're taking something no one knows if it works or not. We don't know what the risks are at all because since they're regulated like food and since the FDA doesn't have the resources or money to actually test all these herbal supplements, they just wait until someone gets sick from them.
But let's be honest. If any of this stuff like really worked or really made you better or really cured cancer, doctors would be using it.
Yes.
It's not like they're going to be like, oh, I really know that cannabis oil cures cancer, but I'm not going to tell anybody.
Right, exactly. No, it's not going to happen. Most doctors, at least the ones I know, actually want to heal sick people. They're not in it just for the money. If they were in it just for the money, they'd be a banker or a lawyer. They're actually wanting to help people. And if these things actually work, there's an old joke. Do you know what you call alternative medicine that works? Medicine? Yeah, exactly. And that's what would happen here. If it was proved that echinacea could cure the common cold, Merck Incorporated would sell the best echinacea pills you could get your hands on. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't, so they don't. There's, but there is an entire industry whose money is made by bullshitting you into buying things you don't need and then taking them. And the real harm here is I'd say most herbal remedies are safe in that they don't do anything at all. In fact, a lot of herbal stuff, especially if you buy it from foreign companies, like the stuff you see sitting on the shelves at Chinese grocery stores or Asian grocery stores and European marts and all those, these foreign imported stuff, they probably don't even, half of them contain the actual active ingredient to begin with. A lot of them are just rice flour and things like that.
So why do you think that knowing this information that they're allowed to keep on selling that?
Because capitalism is more important than your health.
But I mean, well, all right, I guess they have religion. They're selling a falsehood. So
there is a religion. I would say there is a cult of herbs out there. There definitely is a religious aspect to it. You read the stuff that David Avocado Wolf posts on his webpage.
David Avocado Wolf. Oh my
God. Yeah. He's a terrible person who posts a bunch of wooey bullcrap and then sells you dangerous drugs you don't need and tells you not to get vaccinated or go to the doctor. The real awful thing is that they want to make money off your ass. They want to sell you cures that don't work. So then they have to try to undermine the cures that do. And that's what's really dangerous about these things. Most of these herbs don't do shit. Most of these herbs are just placebos. Some of them will make you sick. I know one guy was taking some sort of weight loss tea that he bought at an Asian food store. and he was drinking it every day, and he nearly died from liver failure because whatever the herb was that was in it was killing him. Because herbs are anything plant-based, and there are plants out there that will kill you, that will give you cancer, that will cause birth defects.
No, they're all natural, man.
They're all natural, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's anything that grows in the ground is safe.
It's safe.
That's right.
And as long as you can pronounce it, it's safe. Like, don't be eating that dihydrogen monoxide now. That's some bad stuff.
Yeah, trying to base safety of a substance on your lack of a vocabulary or understanding of scientific nomenclature is the stupidest thing I've ever fucking heard. I can't pronounce half of the names for these herbs. These like the Latin root names, like I don't know. I can't think one off the top of my head, but you know what I mean? These big names for the plants. So if we're going to do that, then I'm not going to be taking any herbal remedies. So there's that. But so I don't know. There probably are some herbs that do some things. I know that there are herbs that can help with constipation. Unfortunately, whenever you chew on a leaf that contains the chemical that causes your bowel to be irritated, so you take a poo, you don't know how much of that chemical you're actually getting. And so you could get enough of a dose to cure you of your constipation. You could get not enough that you stay constipated, or you could give yourself the death shits. You don't know. You don't know.
Death shits.
Yes.
So let me ask you.
Yeah.
Worst way to die ever.
Tell your buddy I said he's right.
Yeah, you said you're right.
I and David as well, and Corinne as well. We've got like a healthy diet thing going since Easter weekend. I've went from 201 pounds to 165. I've done it by eating a well-balanced, unprocessed diet with high in protein, low in simple carbs, lots of vegetables. Is that really the best way to get what these supplements are trying to get into you, is just by eating lots of vegetables, getting, lean protein? Is that honestly the best way?
Yeah, it is.
So why would that be better than a concentrate?
That's a good question. So we could just have a tablet like in the Jetsons that contains all the nutrients we want that have been processed and put back together again.
So like if a supplement company was actually being really fucking true and they're like, here's a pill that has all the nutrients of spinach, kale, red leaf romaine lettuce, and some protein in it, and it's concentrate.
It would be the size of those things though, wouldn't it? Because one of those things you need is the water that's in it. You need, but the reason why is there's these things called, micronutrients, phytonutrients. There's all these more complicated chemicals that are in these plants and animals. We haven't enumerated all of them. There are thousands, and some of these things are really beneficial. Purpurines, I don't know, you could try to rebuild food from the ground up. You could separate out every chemical that's in a healthy food and put them back together again and make synthetic healthy food.
Then you'd be a hipster.
Yeah, you'd be a backwards hipster. But no one's doing that. They're not doing that. They're taking one chemical and selling it to you until it's a miracle cure.
Yeah, so the best way is a healthy, balanced diet.
Correct. Now, you don't want to have too much of your diet come from animal protein either, according to the studies. Get some of your protein from vegetables as well. And there's nothing whatsoever wrong with having a little fat in your diet. Those fat's an important nutrient too. Just don't have a whole bunch of it. But yeah, simple carbohydrates are probably the worst thing that we eat. We've evolved to search them out because in nature there are very few things that actually have a whole lot of these simple carbohydrates in them. And so but they're quick energy and they make us feel good because then we can go, take down the woolly mammoth and, and go gather some berries and then, have lots of vigorous sex and make more children. But now that we have modern farming and modern science, we can eat pure sugar 24/7. And some of us really want to do that because we're programmed to do that. This is the science is a two-edged sword. This is the bad side. The bad side of science is that it gives us the tools to do bad things as well as good things because science doesn't care. It gives no fucks. So yeah, that's why, processed food, there's nothing wrong with processed food. In fact, some foods are only nutritious because they're processed. Like corn used to have to be processed with lye water or lime water in order to get the pericardium off of the kernels in order to get to the nutrition on the inside. Nothing wrong with processing. The problem is that most of the food that's processed in America is processed in such a way to make it taste good, not to make it healthy. In order to make it taste good, they fill it with fat and sugar.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, it's obviously better to eat a salad with chicken breast than to eat a grocery store frozen lasagna.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And yes, the best thing you can do for yourself is have a good balanced diet and not eat. Really, as far as I can tell, the two rules of a really good diet, two main rules, because there's a lot of bullshit out there about that too. We just don't really understand nutrition as well as we do some other things. Nutrition is a complicated and big subject that there's more bullshit out there than there is real good science. The two rules though that I found, and I'm one to talk, I'm well overweight. The two rules I found about a good diet is one, don't eat more calories than you burn in a day, and two, eat all the things. Now, what I mean by all the things, I don't mean processed, nasty food, but I mean, don't eat the same thing all the time. Eat all the vegetables, eat all the proteins, eat all the, cut out the red meat. That's fine. That makes you less prone to colon cancer. Yeah.
But it's so delicious.
Have steak once in a while, right?
Oh, I have it like 3 times a year.
That's wonderful. There's no harm in that, and there's plenty of iron in it.
I'll give listeners a tip. So when you go grocery shopping, stick to the outer aisles. Don't buy any of your food from the inner aisles. It's dairy, like good dairy, cheese, yogurts, eggs, meat, and then you have
whole grain
produce, whole grain bread,
yeah.
Produce over there. Don't shop from the aisles that are on the inside. That's all bullshit.
You're kind of right.
Unless you're saying rice, and because I've mostly like a lot of Asian in my family, so you gotta go to the rice aisle.
I will add one addition to that.
I know.
The frozen aisle, actually, if you go down to frozen vegetables and frozen fruits, are actually probably healthier than some of the fresh ones because they've actually locked in some of the nutrients that have went away during transportation of the fresh vegetables. So, not all processes are bad. I'm talking about not eating things you can't pronounce. I cannot pronounce Echinacea purpurea. I don't know. That's the Echinacea.
Sounds like perfume.
Yeah. So I'm not going to take it because I can't pronounce it. But this is, to give you an example of what's wrong with the herb industry. This particular, you've probably heard of Echinacea. A lot of people claim that it helps cure the common cold or flu-like symptoms. Well, the story behind that's hilarious. So Echinacea was used, or the purple cornflower as it's known, was used by some Native American tribes for various medicinal purposes. And herb people love hearing about natives using things. They just assume that all these native people throughout the world, including native Chinese people, native Europeans, whatever, if people back 1,000 years ago did it, it probably worked, which is a fallacy. That's an appeal to antiquity. Just because, the Egyptians used to think you could cure wounds by rubbing shit and milk into them. They didn't make it a good idea just because the ancient Egyptians did it. Yeah, crocodile dung was a contraceptive. Yeah. Just because Native Americans did it doesn't mean it actually works. I know they were wiser and more noble than we are, but it doesn't make it work. And what's really funny about Echinacea, though, is that the Native Americans never used it to treat colds or flus. What they used it for was for sore throats and for inflammation. And it's actually been tested for that, and the conclusion is inconclusive. But the reason it got this reputation as being a treatment for the common cold or a cure for the common cold was because I believe it was a European herb manufacturer from, where was it? He was visiting South Dakota in the 1960s, and he was from what country? Switzerland or one of those. Anyway, yes, he was Swiss. And there's a lot of European herb makers. So he's a Swiss herbal supplement maker, and he was visiting, and someone in South Dakota told him, "Oh yeah, they use Echinacea to treat colds," not realizing that what the Native Americans actually did was make a tea to treat a sore throat. It was supposed to help with inflammation. So this guy got it in his head that you could cure the cold with Echinacea, and so he started producing it. And to this day, the herbal industry still insists that Echinacea is a treatment for the common cold, even though the entire idea was a mistake. The entire origin of the idea was a mistake. But that's the problem with a lot of the alternative medicine practitioners. They will never admit that it doesn't work, that something doesn't work. Ever, ever, ever. Everything always works. The only thing that doesn't work is the stuff that the big corporations sell. That the actual ones that have been vetted and tested and double blind tested and put on the market, those are the ones that don't work. Everything else that anybody's ever done in the history of mankind works. Now, I tell you this. I actually have worked with someone who worked with an herbal company that sold Echinacea. And this herbal company spent a whole big hunk of money to do an actual, honest-to-God, double-blinded clinical testing of Echinacea treatment on colds. Because they were absolutely 100% confident, for no good reason, that it worked. Because that's what the power of positive thinking, I suppose. So they spent God knows how much money to do this double-blind test. They commissioned it. And it was an honest-to-God one. This herbal company was actually pretty honest company. The results came back, no. There's no statistical difference between Echinacea and placebo when it comes to curing the common cold. So now what do? Do they release this study? Do they publish it? No. They harvest all of the testimonials from the people that actually believed it had helped their cold and publish those as evidence that it actually worked.
I hate
So it's
testimonials.
They're not that honest then, are they?
No, they're not, are they? No.
No. You said they were, and they're really not. So why don't you tell us what cupping is and how it actually doesn't help the blood flow?
Okay. So cupping. I've only studied this a little bit. It's been in the news lately because of Olympic athletes doing it. So as far as there's a couple of different ways of doing it, but the standard way is you have this cup. It's part of traditional Chinese medicine, right? First of all. And we know that it's valid because it's part of traditional Chinese medicine.
Just say Chinese woo-woo.
Yeah, Chinese woo-woo, exactly. It's traditional. It's old. People have been doing it for thousands of years. That means it's correct.
Yeah, traditional means that it works.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Burke is traditional. Though.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
traditionally
And old.
we believed in spirits and devils and fairies. So, we know all that stuff's real too because it's traditional. But so you take a cup, a special made sort of dome shaped glass thing usually, and they put it on you. They light a flame underneath it. And basically they use the fact that whenever you heat up air, it expands. And then when they put the cup down on your back after it's been heated up, it cools down. And when it cools down, it forms a vacuum. So they're basically vacuum pumping a little spot on your back. I'm surprised no one's actually taken a modern vacuum pump and made some sort of a cupping machine that looks like a milking machine for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a penis pump. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but hey, whoa! It's ancient, and you can't use modern science or technology to fuck with the chi.
Right, the chi. That's the first thing. This is traditional Chinese medicine is based on an erroneous concept from the beginning. The concept of qi or prana or whatever you want to call it, the concept of vital energy. Vitalism was also a concept in Western medicine before Western medicine started to be based on science. I want to point out that one thing that these people always do is they try to make out like there's Eastern medicine and then there's Western medicine and somehow they're different. No, there's just medicine and then there's bullshit.
Here.
Yeah. People in Japan and China also use, quote, Western medicine. And in fact, the irony, I know in Japan anyway, another country that we think is magic, they're very big on, quote, Western medicine in Japan. Now, sure, they have a lot of woo-woo over there too, their particular flavor, like we have a flavor here, and every country has their own flavor of bullshit. But they do trust science-based medicine over in Japan, probably more than we do.
Well, that's because their population is, I think, in the 90s for atheist. Like the high 90s too, isn't it? It's like
something like that. Yeah, they're very skeptical and they go to the doctor regularly and do what he says and they live longer than we do.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Never trust a medical doctor. Always trust your health guru.
Yeah, trust your Aunt Marge.
we live longer than you do too, by the way.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't doubt it.
So we don't live longer than you because you're stupid. We live longer than you because we have preventative medicine.
That's right.
Well, and you also have universal health care.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
There was a time when, I had to go to Planned Parenthood to get cancer screenings because I had a lapse of insurance for like 3 months. And, that was the only place to go. But, for some people, it's not an option. They just go without the cancer screening.
I truly believe that's going to come to a head within the next few years. I really believe it's going to come to a head.
It has to.
I really believe that. I know that my belief means fucking zero, but it just like there's just too many issues with not having it. Everybody else does. And the writing's on the wall sooner or later.
Oh yeah. Well, everyone's healthcare cost is going through the roof. People are going bankrupt from healthcare issues in this country. Everything costs too much. And having your healthcare be tied to capitalism just bothers me in the first place. I'm not anti-capitalist, but I do think certain things shouldn't be about profit. And one of those is health. But, the argument is that I hear from the right-wing talk show hosts is, we have the best healthcare in the world. People come here to get surgeries and stuff. There's no better place in the world for these. Yes, if you're wealthy, you can get the best healthcare in the world. But the common man,
you have to make plans to die.
But
right.
Here, it's not even if you're wealthy. So when I was young, and I know we're way off topic, we'll jump back onto cupping as soon as I get this out. When I was 13, I was sent to a hospital in Minneapolis, Minnesota called St. Mary's Hospital, and my government paid for it. So you don't even have to be rich. It's just if you offer a service that isn't offered here, our government will pay for us to go there. And then so when I was there, and because I was there for like 6 months, I saw American children being taken out of the program because their parents' insurance had run out. Yet a foreigner was there and the government was paying for it. Get that in you. Okay, back to cupping.
Yeah, but I was just saying though, in America, if you are wealthy, you do have the best healthcare in the world. That's true, but that doesn't matter. What matters is what the common man can get, and he can't get much these days. Because in cupping, the definition in cupping I just pulled up on Google says in Chinese medicine, which honestly I hate that. It should be in Chinese bullshit. A therapy in which heated glass cups are applied to the skin along the meridians of the body, creating suction as a way of stimulating the flow of energy. Okay, two complete bullshit woo things. First of all, meridians of the body. What are these meridians? They don't exist.
Prime meridian.
They're a religious idea. The flow of energy. What sort of energy? The flow of energy in the human body is the flow of the blood with chemical energy, or perhaps the flow of electrical energy through our nerves. Although it doesn't actually flow through our nerves, it becomes electrical, back to chemical, back to electrical, back to chemical, back to electrical, back to chemical. But this is woo. This energy, quote unquote, is not energy at all. It's the soul or the spirit or what have you. Basically, the idea here, and it's in a lot of woo, chiropractic woo, acupuncture, cupping, all these things. The idea that there is some mystical energy, and that word energy, by the way, irks the hell out of me. Energy is not a thing. Energy is a property of a system. There's no such thing as just energy. But I could go on about that for about another hour. The idea that there's this mystical stuff called energy, and by the way, that just is a new word that people use for the old world words of magic or animal magnetism or mystic or spirit or what have you. And the idea that there are these special pathways through the body that channel this spiritual stuff, and that somehow putting a heated cup on your skin is going to do something to this spiritual channels in your ghost body. Now, of course, the minute you call people on this, they're saying that's not what it is. What it's actually doing is taking toxins out of your body. Now, that's bullshit too. If you have toxins in your body, what takes them out of your body is your liver and your kidneys. And of course, the word toxin itself is misused. The word toxin, by definition, is natural. A toxin is a chemical made in a plant or animal naturally that is toxic to other plants or animals. When people say toxins, they actually mean toxicants, man-made substances that are toxic. You don't get rid of lead or arsenic or whatever by blistering and bruising yourself with a heated cup. It doesn't come through your skin. That's nonsense. If you can't get it out of your body through your liver, you need to go to the doctor, and then you do some serious treatments like chelation therapy for lead poisoning, and you're going to die. Yeah.
So cupping doesn't work, and putting your feet in that water solution thing, or how about the onions in the socks?
That totally works.
Because I'm like really sick. I have Hep C, and I put onions in my socks, and I'm totes my goat's going to be better next week.
I advocate that everyone put onions in their socks tonight when they go to bed. And, I'm just kidding. It's ridiculous.
I know. Like, who thought of that?
So when we saw the cupping, the major cupping story happened, obviously with Michael Phelps and the Olympics. And, for me, when I saw that personally, it was really annoying because I knew that he, being the star that he is, showing, having those bruises on his body, it's gonna further the whole woo thing. And that's really annoying. Oh, yeah. What's even more annoying is the press and, social media didn't really question it, didn't really call it out. Right. And it was just taken as is that this was something that helps him,
And on David's point, I guarantee you that all the people that I'm seeing now that are cupping their dogs, they're cupping their babies to get their blood circulating and
child
their
abuse.
Toxins out is because of the Olympics.
Yeah.
Because this wasn't a thing. Like it was.
When
was
somebody
a thing.
famous, if it was just other people, nobody would give a shit. But when somebody famous does something, people watch, and then they're like, I'm going to do that too, because if they're famous, they have money and they have advisors. And so they must know what they're supposed to do.
He's not just famous. He's a goddamn American hero. He's won more gold medals than anybody in the history of the Olympics. 22 gold medals. And if my ass is a young swimmer and I'm not very skeptical and I see him cupping, you bet your ass I'm cupping too.
Yeah. Even though his credential to advise on medical procedures
is zero.
Is zero.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Less than. Obviously. Less than zero because he's fucking cupping.
Well,
He's
that's
gullible.
the danger, is because he doesn't need to have it. He's the most decorated medalist. Like,
Yep.
it bypasses.
I've never
America.
seen him cup before. Like, he's one of the most gifted athletes I ever saw. What does he think that's actually doing?
He probably thinks it's getting, I don't know, it's getting toxins out of his body, or it's improving his circulation. Who knows?
It's
Maybe he just did
improving
it.
his circulation is what his claim is.
So that's the third claim. I don't know how bursting a bunch of capillaries all over your body with suction and heat is going to improve your circulation.
But isn't that actually a clot?
Yes, there is
It's a clot. That's that is a blood clot there.
Yeah, there is the small chance of an infection. There's a small chance of a blood clot getting loose and going somewhere where you don't want it. And that's the danger of it. Now, it's probably minimal unless the guy does it wrong, like that picture that circulated a while back of someone whose back had been friggin'
Oh
mutilated
man,
by
yeah,
cupping.
that was brutal. Like the holes, was that an infection?
I don't think it was an infection. I think they just had their cups way too hot and they just burned the hell out of them. I'm not really sure, but it was.
I think it was a one of those flesh-eating disease bacteria that got in there.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, that was nasty shit, man.
Wow. That's terrifying. I didn't know that's what that was. Okay. It was a flesh-eating bacteria. Oh. Plausibility. The two things you check for is plausibility and credibility. Is it plausible? No, there's really no reason why it should work. But secondly, are we going to test it? Yeah, probably. Even though it's implausible, we're going to waste money testing it. And we've tested it. We've tested cupping. Nothing. It's never been shown to be good in anything except the couple of questionable papers that say it might help with rashes and acne. Now, if you've got acne and then I just absolutely burn and bruise your face, by the time that burn and bruise is healed, you don't have acne anymore. That could happen. That's crazy, but yeah, it's like cutting your pimples off with a knife.
Whatever happened to Proactive?
I don't know. But I can tell you why it's such a popular technique. It's a great placebo and it's probably why he did it, why he liked it so much. When you do that, it feels good afterwards. You get endorphins released. And it feels like you're getting high and you're getting healed. Because pain is if anyone's ever had a kinky relationship, everyone knows a little bit of pain is kind of nice.
No, a lot of pain is kind of nice.
That's what this is. That's what this is. This is people who eat hot peppers. I'm sure that Phelps is a great swimmer. He probably pushes that pain threshold constantly. He probably gets right there to where he's about to pass out and then releases it and it just makes him feel awesome. You know what I'm saying? That's probably the kind of guy he is. He always is pushing that. That's how he's such a great athlete. This is just another example of that. It's the same thing he's done his entire life. He's bit down and took the pain and then had it go away and grinned at the high he got afterwards.
But you find a lot of athletes are very superstitious. So this doesn't.
It's true.
This doesn't, to me, doesn't make it any different than a baseball player who blesses himself 15 times before he goes out to try to hit a home run.
The difference here, though, Ed, is that I am now seeing fucking dogs and babies being cupped.
Yeah, that's disturbing. That is.
That's the difference.
It's one thing you can cross and look up to God. That's not going to hurt anybody.
Right.
But when
you're goddamn 2 cups on your baby's fucking butt cheeks, I want to smash your face in.
I agree. And you know what it is? Superstition is just harmful across the board, but some superstitions are definitely more harmful than others. For instance, just to go crazy, I think knock on wood whenever you say something that could jinx you is probably less dangerous than believing that albinos will steal your soul and that if you eat their body parts, you'll get magical powers. Just two different
superstitions. Ooh, that'll happen?
Yeah. In Africa, people are doing that. Oh, anyway.
Steven, do you have anything to announce?
AOA will be returning eventually, but I've had some setbacks, but I'm still intending on bringing it back. So I will say that. All right. Thank you very much for having me on.
No, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
It's always awesome talking to you.
Yep. I'll see you later.
Later.
Bye.
Well, that brings us to the final segment of the show, and this one is brought to you by Randy from Twitter. He sent me a message asking me how I felt about the movement, if it was dying. I guess he had listened to David Smalley and PZ Myers' discussion, so he wanted to hear our thoughts on it. So we'll go to Corinne first.
I think that there's certain parts of the movement that are dying because, like, the FFRF is going strong, and what they're doing is working, recovering from religion. I feel like it's the online atheist / podcasting community that's really having issues. And a lot of these online communities that are just, there's so much drama going on in them that it's really killing that online aspect of the movement. So I feel it's more the online atheist movement that's dying rather than the atheist movement as a whole.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess the way I feel about it is, you always heard this, like a few years back, that trying to get atheists to agree on anything was like herding cats. So, like, we've never really agreed on anything. So I don't know what would be the difference now. And in all human sects of society, you're going to have people that agree on things, and you're going to have people that don't agree on them. You're going to have right-wing people. You're going to have left-wing people. The fact of the matter is that atheism itself, if you look at the polls and you look under religion, because for some stupid reason atheism is stuck with religion, we are the fastest growing segment of society. Until that slows down, and until we are no longer the fastest growing part of at least Western society, the movement is not dying. You're having people that don't agree with each other. So fucking what?
Yeah, I can actually speak a little bit to that because I was in Philadelphia before I moved here in January to Florida. I was heavily involved in the Black atheist community, and I became involved in the atheist or humanist community, doing humanist work with different atheist groups, not necessarily Black atheists in Philadelphia, but just with humanist groups. But here in Jacksonville, I joined the two atheist freethinker groups that are in the area, and they have no community service mind. And for me, it was just, people who are like-minded hanging out together. And to them, they don't, this whole rift in the community, they don't even know about it. They just, they're not involved in the online community. And to them, they're like, oh, there's something going on in the atheist community. I have no idea.
Yeah, and neither do the Europeans, neither do the Australians. Like, it's a very small section of the community that's having problems. So it's the SJWs and people that it's even hard to define the other side. So I don't want to say they're...
I mean, you can call them MRAs or whatever, but either way, it's such a small segment of our community. It's these two factions that are fighting, but that's such a small part of such a bigger community. I feel like it's not really the community dying. It's just
exactly
this one segment of the community that's at kind
like
of war with
every other fucking group in human society. Like every other group has the same fucking issues. They have people that agree on things. They have people that don't agree on things.
Gosh, my family and I disagree on shit all the fucking time, but I love my family.
The best thing going on for the atheist movement in general are the arguments. So when you add up the scientific reality and the philosophical arguments that have been presented to date for atheism, I think the scale definitely tips towards, God not existing. God at least is how humans define it. But I think for me, the goal for the atheist movement is to grow political power. I think it's fair to say that atheism stops just as the arguments against the existence of God stop. Atheism is relegated to that simple argument. But other philosophical movements like humanism and things like that, they can pick up from there and move towards the goal of improving people's lives. So anyway, in regards to this whole growing political power, we can quote the Pew Research stuff, right? In the 2014 Pew Research survey, Americans were polled on placing certain religious groups on a scale from 0 as cold and negative to 100, warmest and most positive. U.S. adults gave atheists an average rating of 41, which is only slightly above Muslims, which were given to 40. Catholics and evangelicals and Jews were in the low 60s. Right.
I know there have been multiple polls done in the United States in different demographics, and I honestly, I'm not speaking with these studies in front of me, but atheists have polled very low on trustworthiness on every single poll in America. I mean, and some of the polls were trusted less than rapists. And I mean, that's not all the polls. I'm just saying there was one poll. So I don't know what, and I can't speak to what demographic that poll was in. Probably the Bible Belt.
So, but
I would just wager a guess that it was the Bible Belt. But
So let's just say that's the U.S.
Yeah,
That's
so-
the U.S.
so how about
it's the United States? It's not Canada. But what I would like to do is find out how many polls actually have been done, put them all together, and see what the general consensus
My
is.
poll's been done.
We're still going to poll we're still polling
your
low.
poll's been done.
My poll
Um,
has
And-
been done.
yeah, you have no poll.
So I was just making, sorry, just to continue my point, I was just making this argument in terms of the status of atheists in general in public sphere. So, like, again, continuing on, it says half of Americans, they say 51%, according to the Pew research, say that they would be less likely to support an atheist candidate for president, more than any other candidate of any other trait mentioned in the Pew Research Center, including being Muslim. The good news, Dave, is that, it's declined. So, like, people are having less of a negative, view of atheists in terms of running for president than, in a few recent years. So that's good.
Well,
So-
I think that was kind of evident with Bernie going
Yeah.
so far. He's not an atheist; he's a secular Jew. But I mean, Jews are not. I mean, except for their ritualistic stuff, they're not all that religious unless you're going to the Hasidic community.
Now,
But
at
I
the
mean,
same,
the average Jew is like Jew-ish.
at the same time, Corinne, remember the whole scandal where they were going to use his quote unquote atheism against him to ruin his reputation in the South. Like, it's
Well,
that
yeah,
same
but I
idea.
mean,
that-
It's not that they were
interesting
going to. They
did.
They
You're right. Yeah, they
did.
did.
But if you look at, I'm just saying your average Jew,
Take that,
you know,
Thomas.
like Bernie, who's not really a religious person, and a lot of Jews are secular. Even a lot of the Hasidic Jews are secular. And you look at how people just saw that as atheism, yet it's actually a different thing.
Is there currently no self-described atheist serving in Congress? Although there's
There's
one.
one.
Yeah, there's one House member, Kristen Sinema, who's a Democrat from Arizona, who describes herself as religiously unaffiliated. So
My brother wants me to run for Congress. I was like, yeah.
That-
really.
to me, that's the biggest thing.
For me, the rift started, and it's not really a rift. It's just like a separation, like a line was drawn down when the atheism plus movement came in, and people were like, atheists were like, "Fuck you, we're not going to do what you told me." Shout out to Rage Against the Machine. And then when that didn't work, they came in with intersectional, and people like atheists. The thing they have in common is they don't believe in God, and that's it. And if they do agree on other issues, then they agree on those issues. But a free thinking movement is not going to have you telling them what they can say, what they can't say, what to believe, what not to believe. If you guys agree on shit, that's fantastic. Otherwise, so fucking what if you don't agree? Big fucking deal. Have it out. Go your separate ways. The movement is fine as long as there's still as long as atheism is still the fastest growing section in the poll on religion. Who gives a fuck if you?
The biggest issue I have with this whole debate that's raging on in the quote unquote atheist community is that there is no debate. We're not having a debate. Is there a God or not? That's the only debate that atheism speaks to. We don't have any other, as atheists, we don't have any other debate to enter into. The absence or presence of a God and belief in a supernatural world is the only argument that atheists entertain as a community. Outside of that it has nothing to do with atheism. So you can have a wide spectrum, as David has mentioned earlier. There's a wide spectrum of belief out there. It is very cultish and religious-like to assume that a group of people will share a same mind, the same opinion. It is very, very dogmatic to say that you have to believe X, Y, and Z, or you're not really an atheist, or you're an MRA, or you're a feminist, or you're whatever. Those things are not atheism. You cannot box them into atheism because atheists were around a lot longer than those terminologies. So the whole concept that there is any other debate besides belief or absence in God is beyond the scope of atheism. So the movement is moving on, meaning there are more atheists being created every day, and not created, but people are moving away from dogmatic belief, and that's something that we should embrace. And the other crap is just that crap. We can push it away and focus on the real thing. That's all I have to say about that.
Corinne, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say, kind of when you were talking about the intersectionality part, most atheists will agree with a lot of the, the human rights issues and everything, but they don't have to be activists for it. Like I'm an anti-human trafficking activist, yet there are religious people who are anti-human trafficking activists. And I feel like there's a lot of pressure in people in the atheist community to also be activists in other communities. And you don't have to be an activist in every community. And even if it intersects necessarily, supposedly, with atheism, I don't know that it necessarily does. But I just feel like that there's too much pressure put to be an activist in every community. And there shouldn't be.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is most atheists are left-wing or liberal or social democrat. So a lot of them are going to agree on the same thing. But it doesn't mean that everybody has to agree on the same thing. And if you say that you're unwilling to work with somebody like PZ Myers does, okay, I'm not like, I don't know PZ Myers personally, but out of his own mouth, he said he's unwilling to work with people and he's blocked people. So I think that's a bigger problem than people that are just disagreeing, right? Like when you say, I'm not willing to work with this person, or I'm not willing to fight for the cause of anti-religion with this person because they're not an intersectional atheist like I am. That's a bigger problem.
I think that's a huge problem. And, I'm going back to the example of the anti-human trafficking movement. The safe house that I volunteered at was run by nuns. And, they were, real nuns. They lived in poverty, and, that's what they did, was that safe house. When I used to go do street outreach, I would go with this church that would go feed homeless people as a guide to kind of go look for victims who might be out there and be able to identify them. So it doesn't necessarily have to, the intersectionality of a lot of these things, it's not just unique to being an atheist. You can be supportive of many causes, but you don't have to be an activist for every single cause.
One of the things that I have to bring up too is our skepticism. As a skeptical person, I want to see the evidence before I make any observation about anything. If I'm being told what to do, my natural response is, no, I'm not going to accept that. I'm going to push back against it. I want to research the evidence. I want to see where the evidence lies. If there is no evidence for it, then there is no claim, and then I can dismiss it without prejudice. It's the idea that we are skeptical, that we do not take anything on face value. We don't accept dogma of any kind. That is the issue that I have to fight for. I will fight for the idea of free speech and the freedom to not believe anything anybody else. We're individuals, but we cannot always agree on everything. The idea is the debate. The controversy is to talk out with evidence, supporting and refuting. those are the things that we as a society must come to. If we don't do that, we're going to fall apart. But I don't see that happening.
This whole rift with the intersectionality, while it's a small portion of this movement, arguing over some of these small issues over terminology, and it's hindering the movement. The movement could be so much stronger if people would, realize that we're allowed to have our own opinions and we're allowed to have differences and differences of opinion and yet not be enemies. And, I just feel like people need to start realizing that there's a bigger picture out there.
Yeah, and I actually have to agree with Smalley on one point. It's like he was saying, you agree on 98% and you're going to fucking no longer be friends because of 2%. You're not going to talk to each other. You're going to refuse to work with each other because you don't agree with each other on 2% of the issue.
I don't agree with Big Black Gay Dave, I don't know, I'd say a good 20% of the shit he says. But I love Big Black Gay Dave. And I'm not going to say, oh, well, fuck you, I can't talk to you anymore because I don't agree with, a fifth of what you say.
And if you had a real problem, you guys would talk, right?
Yeah.
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 And we're probably going to have a big old powwow when Hillary and Trump debate, right? You and I are suffering together.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
So, what, I don't understand these huge rifts. You can have the debates, you can have all that, but you can also work together to forward the movement.
But do you guys kind of think that maybe the people that are saying that the movement is dying or there's an illness in the movement, that they're kind of being a little fucking dramatic too?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Come on now, seriously. There's fucking, and they're
I don't know.
They're simply looking at the United States, and they're simply looking at a small segment of the United States, and they're making it out to be the entire atheist community.
And it's the online atheist community.
Guess what? We're worldwide, bitches. And some of them, gotta be honest with you,
countries
they never
even
heard of fucking P.Z. Myers and David Smalley or the Wayward Atheists. They don't give a shit about any of that.
I think for me, Dave, it's just, I think, I hear what you're saying. It's just that I think we can, given the political powers at play right now with how strong Christians are, how strong, if you're in a Muslim nation, how strong the hegemony is. It's very scary. I know we're growing, I think.
I am speaking to what's going on inside right now. Okay, so the question was, what's happening with the atheist movement, not what's happening with, you know what I mean, David?
You said something before. I was responding to what you had just said.
So I said that atheism was worldwide. And
yes.
That they're talking about a small segment of a small population in a country.
I know, and atheism is worldwide. I'm still having a sense of dread that we still aren't doing enough for to work our movement. Because, as I mentioned in the beginning of my speech, is the stats and the public opinion of atheists.
That's for one country. Those stats are one country.
Yeah, okay. So maybe it might be better in the UK or maybe better here. Yeah, you're right. That's true. Yeah, it's one country.
So if you want to get technical, you could say that it's the same as the United States in the Islamic countries. You could say fucking atheism.
Yeah, it's just the different. Yeah, switch roles.
But in here, take this for example. I'm at work today. The client is an atheist. The real estate agent is an atheist. The plumber on the site is an atheist. The other carpenter that I'm teaming up with right now to do the job, because it's too big for me to do by myself, is a fucking atheist. Everybody on the goddamn site is an atheist. And not by choice. It wasn't like I was we're searching out atheists. It just so happens that everybody on site is an atheist. To me, that doesn't say dying.
No, what's dying is the fact that certain groups like the Atheism Plus movement, when that imploded, that
died quickly.
And then you got intersectional atheism. That
died quickly too.
But that's what they're seeing as the death of the atheist.
But that's bullshit.
Well, we know that, but that's what they're seeing as the death of atheism. What I see is as the only thing that will impinge the upward and onward progression of the atheist movement is if we all turn religious, which is not going to happen.
So here's what died. Adding shit to I don't believe in God. That's what died.
So,
exactly.
okay, so I'm going to push back here. So like for me personally is like, I don't really care what you believe in. Like, I don't really care if you believe in God or you don't believe in God. It's just, so what? Okay. So, are you going to push creationism in our schools? Are you going to, deny me my right to marry the person I love because you have a religious argument? Like, that's sort of where I see, whether or not
that's
someone.
Where the argument that they're having lays. The argument that they're having lays with other atheists, not with Christians. And that's what me and Edward are saying is that we should be arguing against Christians.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but what David is saying is, I think, is that this is where the argument should be. We should be, it's the political sphere and the political influence of religion. That's where the argument should
be.
But
I'm also saying that I'm saying it does intersect though. Like, it's like, I'm not sure when you say it's intersectionality, I do think that intersectionality exists and it's very real.
No, but when they're talking about intersectional atheism, it's more feminism versus MRA. These things that would intersect naturally, according to the group, we're not supposed to be.
But not everybody's going to agree on those things. So the things that you just brought up was Christian, right? So you brought up, name the things you brought up.
Creationism in schools, gay marriage.
So that's an atheist.
Okay. So no, and it's not as specifically, but it by nature, it extends out. So if you don't believe in God, then your secular policy should sort of be based on that, right? That's what I'm saying.
So just on God. So all religious things.
Yeah. So whatever. So God, you're not using God, your superstition and all that to enact your policy, your political
but not
philosophy.
Social justice issues, right?
No,
because maybe they're right wing. They're right wing atheists.
So.
But here's the problem that we're flooding in. You're talking about intersectionality, and you're saying this is not directly belief in God or not, but it influences policy. What we're really talking about here is the difference between policy that inflicts a religious point of view, a dogmatic point of view, and that is an atheist, because that stems onto directly into atheism. Whereas intersectional atheist movement is saying, no, we don't just focus on what the godly are doing in government. There's a whole realm of social issues that we have to fix on a dogmatic level. And that's what they're using another form of dogma to inflict on the rest of society what a small population believe is correct. If that makes sense to you, David.
I think it kind of does.
It's very dogmatic. Just think about this. If I don't believe in feminism, for instance, okay, I'm not allowed to be a part of this intersectional atheism movement. Now, I could believe in equality for women, but because I don't take in that feminist label, and I'm just using feminist because that's been in there, or I don't take on, say, I believe in equality for ethnic minorities, or what have you. I believe in equality, but I don't want to subscribe to a group like Black Lives Matter or whatever to exclude me from the conversation just because I don't want to label myself as this person or that person means that you're taking a dogmatic approach.
Yeah. And that's my fear. It's like it's the ignoring, I guess, or I'm not sure what the right word is, but like just running over or ignoring like the intent of people. Like I think most of us in the quote unquote atheist movement are pro social justice, in terms of in the purest form, right? We want people to be equal. We want people's lives to be improved. But when we sort of take on these labels, people kind of get threatened by it, and people want to assert their movement on a whole bunch of people that might not feel the same way. And that's a big issue.
Right. And you also, in a lot of these spheres, like say in the MRA field and the feminist field, for instance. I'll use those as examples. Two opposing factions. You have parts of some things about the MRA movement that, like, males are underprivileged in some ways when it comes to the fact that they don't receive their children as much that's a valid opinion that needs to be addressed. Mm-hmm. Like, and also on the feminist side, there are things disgusting things that are happening to women that shouldn't be, and that, that need to be addressed. But these two groups, because of the dogma that's attached to the labels, they will never work out the issues because they're dogmatic. I'm right, you're wrong. That concept, instead of just focusing on what skeptical people are supposed to do, on the facts, the evidence, and focus on individual items and weigh the evidence and then make up your mind, then things can get done. But if you dig your feet into, no, I'm a feminist, oh no, I'm an MRA, then both of those groups are entrenched and dogma takes over, just like any religious cult. And then you get nowhere, and the movement that you wanted to get done is impeded by stubborn dogmatic belief. And that's exactly what we're trying to get rid of.
I agree. So I'm part of what I've been experiencing recently, personally. I'm not saying that's data or anything, but I think on both sides of the coin, like, there's like a chilling effect on speech. Not free speech per se, but ability for you just to voice what you want to say, even if it's unpopular within your little social group, right? There's the SJW stuff and there's the anti-SJW, whatever that means. If you say something on one side, you're going to be labeled one thing, and if you say something on the other side, you're going to be labeled on another thing. And, like, personally, I don't want to say anything because I'll be labeled. I think that's a big problem.
I told a feminist online that I'm not a feminist. Then she automatically assumed that I was MRA. And I said, no, I'm not MRA. I believe in equality of genders. Period. Full stop. I don't subscribe. I don't think that males should be any more privileged than females. Females shouldn't be any more privileged or less privileged than males. That's all I can say. I'm not going to label myself a feminist or an MRA because I don't believe in either of those labels, because they are just that, labels. I go where the facts are. I want to see what the facts are actually. But because I don't have a camp, they're going to exclude me from the conversation that needs to take place. And that conversation that needs to take place to make both genders have the best quality existence in our society. Well, guess what? I was born a male, so I can't take the female point of view all the time. I'm also, because I'm male, I'm excluded from the conversation a lot of the time. That's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. I do have a point of view. I do have an opinion, and it's my opinion. I try to, at the best, is to think skeptically, to get the evidence I need to make an informed opinion, and that's how I work. I'm not trying to make a camp out of what my beliefs are. You don't have to believe what I believe, and David doesn't have to believe what I believe, because we're individual people, but we must exist as a group on the planet. That's the problem that we're facing now. No one is seeing the forest because we're stuck in the trees.
Yeah. So if you remember back to when you first became an atheist, and for me, the first realization that, so like I said, I haven't believed in God since I was 8, but there was a point where I was like, holy shit, yeah, I'm an atheist, and that's fucking cool, and there's other atheists out there, and I'm gonna find podcasts that I can listen to, and like-minded people, and there's gonna be new people like that all the time, right? So maybe it's just the old voice or the old face of atheism that's going, but there's going to be a new generation, you know?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, when you're alone, because we're social creatures, we want to find a group. We want to be involved. I mean, that's the reason why I'm here now speaking to you guys, is that I was alone in my atheism. But that doesn't mean that because you're an atheist, Dave, that I agree with you 100%, or you, David.
Mm-hmm.
the mentality that we have to think alike because we're atheists is.
But that's new. That is new because the saying was getting atheists to agree on anything is like herding cats. And that saying is only 5 or 6 years old. Where did that go?
Are there some minimum things that we all should agree on though?
Well, if you don't want to be a fucking dick, you should believe in equal rights. You should believe that fucking gay people are normal, like they're born that way. Don't be a cunt. You know, if you don't really think that transgender people are born feeling like they're a different gender, then fuck you. But I mean, like,
I've seen a lot of pushback on that in terms of a lot of conservative atheists on transgender issues. It's just really weird how there's when I've assessed it.
But that doesn't mean the atheist movement in itself is dying.
No, you're right. Yeah.
That only means that there is some people within atheism that don't agree with each other, that maybe haven't had the chance to come to the same realization that you have, and to label them racist, transphobic, homophobic is fucking bullshit. Because I guarantee you, those people that you're getting that little bit of that are giving a little bit of pushback against trans, if you said to them, "Do you feel like trans people should have equal rights?" they would say yes. They wouldn't say that they shouldn't have equal rights, and that's all that really matters.
But I think also, Dave, to further that point, I think the idea that a difference of opinion means that these people are cunts, basically, and that we should write them off is also wrong. So we have to say, like, there has to be room for difference of opinion. We all have different life experience. We all treat different topics differently. And when you know better, you do better. Some of these people have never even met a trans person, nor have read any of the research on trans.
Or they may have only been an atheist for 6 months, and they're still hanging on to some of their Christian or Muslim or Hindu views when it comes to stuff like that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there's no racist atheists or that there's no homophobic atheists, because we're a group of people, and within group of people there's prejudice. Right? Like that's just reality. But I guarantee you, if you asked any atheist if they should have equal rights or not, they're going to say yes.
But see, and the danger is, just because we share that one belief, the danger is saying that we all should think alike. That is wrong. Individuality is important.
And it's not so much, I mean, the beliefs and not thinking alike, that's very important, but I think it's also about the conversation. It's about the speech. It's about communicating with people, disagreeing with them, knowing that you agree on the majority of other things. It's being fearless and saying what you need to say, saying what you feel, and then knowing that your friends have your back. And I think perhaps we're living in a climate where if I say X, then Y person will unfriend me, or, if I say this some way, someone will start a campaign against X, X person, that sort of thing. I think that is a very chilling effect that's happening in the online community
Look, I've been called racist, David.
Yeah.
Like, straight out, I've been called racist. I've been told that, I'm in a mixed marriage, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, oh, that only proves that I'm racist because I think that living with somebody and having children with somebody of a different race would somehow make me not racist. Like, they're just, it is insane, right?
It's really bad. Yeah.
It is insane. It is insane, but you're dealing with a bunch of different people. And a bunch of different people think and say a bunch of different things.
And if, getting back to that whole concept of dogma, if this was a religious group that was oppressing people's right to an opinion, every atheist would band together and fight that oppression tooth and nail. But the fact that it's within our own community, that there are cliques of dogma that are developing, we're not fighting it. We're not checking that ideology out and seeing if it's right or wrong. There are groups of dogmatic atheists that people who are atheists but are dogmatic about a certain cause. And we have to stop and think about that concept.
Yes.
We have to remove that dogma.
And so the problem with the movement itself right now isn't that it's dying. The problem with the movement itself right now is the infighting. We've taken our eye off of the goal of getting politicians in, of having more atheists move up, and we're squabbling with each other over small social minutiae. And so like PZ Myers and his ilk are going to say, well, what about the amazing atheist? That's one fucking person. Does he represent atheism? No, nobody represents atheism. We don't have any leaders. We don't have anybody that we follow. So cut the fucking shit. Stop bringing up the amazing atheist.
And you know what? He's entitled to his opinion. He's entitled to be a dick if he wants to be a dick. If he wants to do whatever, that's his thing. Like you said, Dave, it doesn't represent my point of view. It doesn't represent any majority of people. It represents him individually.
And let's be honest. The amazing atheist is not fucking Pastor Manning.
No.
Okay? Let's be honest. Like he may be a dick and his personality may be a little fucking shitty, and some of the things he say may come across as misogynist or racist, but he's no fucking Pastor Manning. And he's not fucking Pat Robertson either. So let's fucking settle the fuck down.
Right. And I think a lot of this is over dramatic. But you also got to picture the fact is we're fighting in Western civilizations who have it the best. The poorest among us have
ever. The best ever.
In any society in history.
Ever.
Mm-hmm. Yet we're supposed to be helping our atheist brothers and sisters over in other countries that are where it's. Can you imagine the shame that they must look at us about squabbling over bullshit when they're over there fighting?
I don't even think they would know.
I'm not even sure about that either. I'm not even sure they know, but who knows? Maybe they do. I don't know. But
I'm glad I'm hope they don't, because can you imagine that they're fighting for their fucking lives every day, knowing that if they were found out that they were atheists, that they're going to be fucking hung or beaten with a rock. And what are we doing? We're fighting amongst ourselves.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that somebody wanted my fucking opinion on this, because I'm just like, fuck you, fuck them. It doesn't matter. But in reality, it's just online squabbling.
The movement is not dying.
No.
There's some issues.
Not even close.
There's some issues though, and I think we could be stronger. And I think we need to there's some issues I think we can refocus on and try to be stronger on. Like we need to get more members of parliament, members of Congress in saying that, we don't believe in God and we're not going to make policy based on God. Like, again, like you said, Dave, it seems to be focused on the U.S., but the U.S. is still a major country and they can do a lot of screwed up shit in the world. So
here's two things that I think both sides can do better. Okay. I think that from the SJW side, they could realize that just because maybe somebody's not going to always call you by your pronoun doesn't mean that they're your enemy, that they're still on your side, that when push comes to shove, they're still going to advocate for you and that they're still your ally. And it's
like grace. I call that grace.
Yeah. And on the other side, on say my side of the issue, we could remember that pain and triggering and maybe somebody's social anxieties is relative. So just because, as you and Edward know, I had a really, really, in Western standards, a really, really rough upbringing. But that doesn't mean that somebody that hasn't had the same upbringing that I have, that maybe had an alcoholic dad and their parents got divorced, that their pain isn't relative to mine because they aren't used to the life that I've had. So maybe their trigger is relative to the life that they've had, or maybe their issue is relative to the life that they've had. I think a little bit of understanding on both sides, and I'm guilty of it too, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm not fucking guilty of it. I think that would go a little. Does that make sense to you guys at all?
Yeah, and another thing that I'll add with that, I think both sides need to grow the fuck up. Man up.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
And it sounds but they do. I mean, like, crying over bullshit, and demanding like a 5-year-old that you want this or that on either side is bullshit.
Yeah, of course it is.
And grow the fuck up. And let's start taking this on like adults and start and really push this movement into the 21st century instead of taking it back into oblivion.
I think the movement has been won in like the 19th century. These arguments for the belief in God or not, they've been done for quite a long time. It's these other issues.
So you're thinking it's the social issues that?
I think so. Yeah.
You think so?
Because like the philosophical issues are done. Like the debate is done. We've won debate. Atheists have won debate.
Well, you think that we have, but 51% of the United States believe in creationism. 12 million people in the United States believe that fucking lizard people control their government. Yeah. And so you think that we have. Maybe in our country where it's 45% non-religious. So yeah, we've won the argument.
So what I'm saying is, like, I think winning the argument might not be the priority for us. Is, because I think, like, if we just spend so much time fighting
atheists, that's what we do. We win arguments, Dave.
But no, I disagree though. I think we have to try our biggest fight.
Of course he disagrees. He's an atheist.
It'll be dogma that we're going to have to face.
Exactly.
Any forms of dogma anywhere. And it doesn't have to be religious dogma. It could be dogma of anything. You can be cultish about baseball. And there are dogmatic things that you can say about baseball. It's that trying to always shed that dogmatic point of view where you don't listen to another person's opinion, where you don't seek out facts, contrary to your own opinion. If you never challenge your own opinion, how in the hell can you expect to grow as a human being?
I think that transcends your point. I completely agree with it. It transcends atheism, perhaps. Probably you're talking about skepticism, maybe in general.
Yeah.
Okay. So to leave this, and I really hope this works out, it doesn't shit on me. To leave this, I don't want to leave it in a state of fuck them and, blah, blah, blah. What do you think the atheist community is getting right now?
Arguments for the existence of God from the, creationist arguments and evolution and all that, the pro-science that tells a story that's quite different from the supernatural. I think that's pretty clear. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Edward?
What I think atheism is getting right is that shedding of dogma. I think we're slowly doing it as a people, but we're doing it a better job than we did 100 years ago. And to go with David's point, to make the non-supernatural and more, and looking at that, it's a more beautiful picture of reality than we've ever had, and it's growing by the day, and it's an amazing process to watch.
And one of the things that I see that we're getting right is the humanitarian effort, whether it's Doctors Without Borders or the FFRF, also just in small communities with the GoFundMes. If somebody needs their rent paid, somebody's daughter is dying, somebody has an issue, I see a lot of people, whether they're on the SJW side or the anti-SJW side, jumping, giving funds straight away and helping each other out.
And I agree. And like I said, in no small way, you guys have been there to help me out, to get me into the community, quote unquote. This dialogue that we're having every week is important, not only for the hosts, but for the listeners that are listening because they tell us.
Well, I hope it's important for the listeners, and I really appreciate them listening. And I don't want to sound like a crotchety old asshole when I'm saying fuck that, but it's just, that's how I feel.
Yeah, there's more important things in life.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks, Randy, for asking us. And I'm kind of surprised you wanted our dumbass opinion on it, but okay. I'm sure smarter people have thought about it.
I think it was great. It's a conversation I think that we needed to have, and hopefully we provided some insight that was entertaining for our
Well, I
listeners.
think we were far more entertaining than fucking Smalley and P.Z. Myers. Let's just get that out of the way right away.
And I think this is I got to thank Randy, because this is a conversation that needs to be had, not on just this podcast, but any podcast and everywhere.
Hey, I sucked his dick already, man. What the fuck?
Okay. Sorry, Randy.
No, go ahead.
My final advice is run for office if you can.
Yeah,
Get elected.
and have a conversation. Open your mouth and talk to other people. You'll be surprised what you'll see and change.
This was the Wayward Atheist podcast. Visit our new website at waywardatheists.com. Follow us on Spreaker, spreaker.com/waywardatheists. You can email us at waywardatheistpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at waywardatheists and on facebook.com/waywardatheists. If you enjoy our content, feel free to leave us a review on iTunes, and feel free to support us at patreon.com/waywardatheists.